Today in this session, we will go through some of the basic Linux commands that you should know when you are starting off with Linux. Now, this is an introductory session, guys, and this is basically for people who are very new to Linux. Right, so in this session, I will not only be explaining the basic commands, but also some things that you need to know while you're working with Linux, and I'm going to side by side compare it to what happens in Windows. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with this session with the first slide, which basically talks about some basic Linux commands. So guys, when we talk about the basics in Linux, let's talk about in an operating system or in any operating system for that matter, what basic operations do you do, right? So first kind of thing or the first thing that you might do is navigation, right? That if you want to go from one folder to another, if you want to go to a particular software, how do you do it? Right, that basically is called navigation. The second operation that you might want to do is how to create folders. So to organize your stuff, there might be operations that you might like. For example, in Windows, you just right click and you click on new folder. So how is that done in Linux, that we are going to discuss. Then how to copy or move files, that we are going to discuss. How to delete files is something that we are going to discuss, and how to install a software on your machine which is running a Linux operating system, that we are going to discuss. Okay, now let's start with navigation. So when we talk about navigation, the command which is there in Linux is called cd. What do you mean by cd? Cd basically means change directory, and then you tell the directory name. Okay, so whenever you want to move to a certain folder in Linux, you will be using the terminal, right? And when you're using the terminal, just type in the command cd, which means change directory, and the directory name or the folder name that you want to go into, right? To put it into most perspective, I think I'll just switch over to Linux. So this is my Linux VM that I'm running right now. So I'll just go inside it, and then I'll show you how you can work. Okay, so this particular Linux operating system has a UI, right? And I'm going to come more onto what a UI is in a second. But what I want to basically make use of is the terminal, right? So let me just open the terminal very quickly. So this is how the terminal of a Linux operating system looks like. Let me make the text a little more bigger so that it's visible to everyone. And now what we are going to do is we are basically going to go ahead and see how we can basically change directories in Linux. Okay, so now let's say I have I'll just put in a command ls. So ls command basically lists all the directories which are there in this particular folder, right? So you have desktop, you have downloads, so all these are folders. Now let's say if I want to go inside downloads folder, how can I go inside it? So the command is cd. Cd basically means change directory, and then I will type in the directory name. So I will just type in the initials, like for example in this case it's down, and then I can just hit tab, and what this will do is it will autofill whatever the folder name is, right, which in this case is downloads. So it autofilled it when I press tab, and now I can hit enter, and now you can see I'm inside the downloads folder. If I want to come back, if I want to go out of this folder, what I'll have to do is type in cd space dot dot and hit enter, and with this I can come out of the downloads folder, right? So this is how it works. Now let's move on to the next command. Or let's say if I, before moving on to the next one, if I want to move on to the videos folder, let's assume. So what I'll be doing is I will be typing in cd, and then I will be typing in the folder name, which in this case is videos, right? So when I type in videos, now I'll just hit enter, and I have entered the videos folder, right? If I want to come out of this folder, again cd space and then two dots, which will basically tell me that I have to come out of this videos folder. So two dots, hit enter, and now I've come out of the videos folder, right? So this is how you navigate inside the Linux system. Coming back to our slides, so we now understood how navigation can be done. Now let's go ahead and understand how you can create folders in Linux. Alright guys, so for creating folders in Linux, the command is mkdir. Mk stands for make, dir stands for directory. So mk basically means make, dir directory. So make directory and then the directory name, which will basically create the folder. right? Now let's go ahead and do that in the terminal. So I'll just switch over to my Linux machine. And now let's say this was the terminal that we had. So again, to list out every folder which is there in the current folder that I'm in, basically the command is ls. So ls basically means list. So I'll type in ls, and now I see all the things which are there in the folder that I'm in right now. Now let's say I want to create a folder called demo, right? There's no demo folder over here as of now. I'll just type in mkdir, which is make directory, and then I will type in the folder name, which is demo, right? I hit enter. Now the folder has been created. I've not got any error. So I'll just do ls again. And now you can see the demo folder has been created. Okay. So now if I want, remembering the previous command that we learned, if I want to go inside this folder, I'll just have to type in cd demo, hit enter. And I'm inside the demo folder now. And now what I can do is I can just type in ls, and you can see there's nothing inside this folder. If I want to create one more folder inside this folder, I can just type in mkdir sample. Let's say this is the folder that we are trying to create in the demo folder. Hit enter, hit ls, and now you can see that I have the sample folder as well. Okay, so guys, this is how you can create directories in Linux. Next, move on to the next command, that is copying or moving. So how we can copy or move files in Linux, let's understand that. Now to copy a file in Linux, the command is cp, which basically means copy. To move a file in Linux, or to cut paste a file in Linux as you do in Windows, the command is mv and the file name, and then after that you have to enter the destination. Okay, so let's say I basically go ahead over here in my terminal and I create a sample file over here. Now to create a sample file, the command is called touch, right? So just type in touch and let's create a file called 1.txt. Okay, hit enter, and now what will happen is a 1.txt file will be created. This is an empty file, there is nothing inside this file. You can go ahead and edit it if you want, but right now it is empty. Now let's say I want to copy this file into this folder. How will I do it? Right, so let me show you the sample folder first of all. So if I go inside the sample folder, you can see there is nothing inside the sample folder as of now. Coming out of this sample folder, the command is cd space dot dot. And now what I want to do is I want to copy 1.txt inside sample. So let's see how we can do that. So the command is cp, that means copy, 1.txt, that means the file name. And where do I want to copy it? I want to copy it inside the sample folder. Now there are two ways you can specify the destination over here. One way is to give the full path of the folder that you want to copy it in. That is, we are inside the demo folder, and the demo folder must be inside some other folder. It must be inside some other folder. Either we can give the full path, or we can make use of an expression called dot. Dot basically means the current folder, whatever we are in, consider that, slash, and then whichever folder you want to copy the file in, which is sample in this case. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to copy 1.txt in the current folders slash sample folder, and now we are going to hit enter. So there are no errors that we got. So now if we go inside the sample folder and if I do an ls, you can see that 1.txt is present. Okay, so this is how you make use of the sample command. Now let's say I want to come out of this directory. I'll again type in cd space dot dot, clear the terminal, and coming back to my slides, let's say I want to move a file now. So how can I do that? If I want to cut paste a file, so let's create one more file. Let's call it 2.txt. And if I do an ls right now, you can see that since I copied 1.txt, it is present here itself, and it is present in the sample folder also, which I showed you just a moment back. Now if I want to move 2.txt inside sample, again the whole syntax is going to be the same, only the command is going to be different. So command is mb, which means move. I want to move 2.txt and I want to move it in the current folder, the sample folder that I have. I want to move it inside that. Right, hit enter, and now 2.txt has moved inside the sample folder. So if I do an ls over here, you can see that 2.txt is no longer present, and if I go inside the sample folder, you can see that 2.txt has been moved over here. Great. Coming back to my slides, now you understand how to copy or move files. The next important operation for you to understand is how to delete files, right? So if I want to delete files, the command is rm, which basically means remove, right? So if I want to remove a file, coming back over here, let's say I want to remove 2.txt, I'll just type in rm 2.txt, hit enter, and now 2.txt, if I do an ls, has been deleted. Similarly, if I want to delete 1.txt, I'll just type in rm space 1.txt, and the file is again deleted. So there is no file in this sample folder now. Now, if I want to go ahead and I want to delete a folder, now how can we do that, right? For example, let me come back to the initial folder that we were in. I want to delete everything which is there inside demo, and I want to delete the directory itself. So if I type in rm demo, you will see I will get an error. So rm dot slash demo, and if I hit enter, it says cannot remove demo, it is a directory, right? So how can we delete a directory? So there is a simple flag that you have to enter over here. So rm dot slash demo, same command, just before demo enter hyphen r space. So when you enter hyphen R, it basically means remove recursively in the demo folder. Recursively means whatever is there inside demo also you delete that, and then you delete the demo folder also. Now if I hit enter now, you can see that I didn't get any error. And if I do an ls now, you can see the demo folder has been removed. So this is how you can delete a directory as well, right? So with this, we have covered an important operation, that is how to delete a particular file or a folder in Linux. So if you are deleting a file, the command is rm space the file name. If you're deleting a folder, just enter hyphen r along with the file name, and the folder will be deleted. Okay. Now the next important operation which happens in any operating system is installing a software. So how can you install a software in a Linux operating system? So in order to do that, so there are two kind of flavors which of Linux which are usually used worldwide. The first one being Ubuntu, and the other one being CentOS. Now there are other operating systems as well, such as Red Hat, such as ZOS. There are a lot of distributions, but basically the point is that every operating system will have its own package manager. A package manager is basically helps you to install software, right? So to put it down simply, what you can do is whenever you want to install a software, just search for that software on your browser and enter the operating system that you're using. For example, if I were to move to my browser, let's say I want to install Git, right? So what I can do is install Git on CentOS. This is the operating system that we're using right now. Hit enter, and any guide that you see, just open that, and these guides will basically give you some commands, right? So the command is sudo yum install git, and if you pass in this command, git will be installed on this system, right? So to just put it into perspective, I'll just copy this, and let me see if internet is connected in this terminal. I'll connect it. It's done. Now let's me paste this command and hit enter. It'll ask me for the password, so I'll enter password. You will notice I've entered sudo over here. What does sudo mean? I'll just explain you in a bit. Let me enter the password, and now you can see that git will start installing on this system. This is how you can install a software, but I'm going to stop that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to install the software. So what I can do is I can just enter Control C, and that will cancel the operation which is happening on the terminal. Okay, so this is how you can install softwares. I'll just come back to my PPT, right? So I mean, what I told you is use the package manager, which in our case is yum, install, and the package name. And obviously you will not know all the package names, so that's why I've suggested you that always search the internet for whatever software you want to install. You will automatically get the commands and use them. Okay. Now, one more important thing that you should understand about Linux is sometimes you will get a UI which I have in my case, and sometimes you will not. Right. And I will show you both the scenarios. In what scenarios you will not get a UI. Right. So why a UI is avoided in Linux is because Linux is a very you can say it's an operating system which basically is very practical, right? So whenever there is UI involved in any operating system, that basically leads to more consumption of RAM and CPU, right? So initially when Linux was developed, it was developed only on a terminal. There was no UI, but later to make it more easy to use, people added UIs or user interfaces in the Linux operating system, and that's how basically it looks like now, right? So but in still in production systems, when you work with companies, when they have softwares that have to run in Linux, they prefer to use a terminal based operating system which does not have any UI. And the reason for that is it takes up a lot less memory and CPU, and the memory and CPU will now go to your softwares. That is exactly the intent behind using operating systems such as Linux. So Windows systems you will see are very heavy in nature. Why? Because they have a lot of UI components. There are a lot of things which make it easy to use. But Linux is all about practicality, and that's why most of the Linux distributions that you will see that run production environments or official work of companies, they basically do not have any user interface. Now, what is the difference between the user interface and a terminal? It's pretty simple. So I will just show you some things. Like for example, let me open the file manager. Okay, so this is what you see in the terminal over here right now, right? So for example, if I do an ls, I can see everything which is there inside over here. Now if I want to go inside these folders, I can just double click, I can go inside this folder. This is how you use your Windows operating system as well. It's very simple and straightforward. But I showed you the terminal way because that is what you will be using mostly when you work in a certain job and when you have to work with Linux. But let me show you what operations you did, how it looks on the UI, right? For example, if we create a folder, let's say we create a folder called demo over here, you can see demo has been added in this user interface. If I want to go in this user interface, I'll just go double click demo. I'm inside this folder. Similarly, if I want to go inside the demo folder in the terminal, I'll just enter cd space demo. I'm inside this folder, right? Now let's say I create a 1.txt file. So I'll just touch 1.txt, and you can see a 1.txt has been created in the UI. Now if you double click this, you will see that there is no content inside it, right? And that is what I told you also, that what touch does. If I want to delete this on the UI, you can just right click, you can click on uh, so if delete is not there, we can just enter the delete command as well. So if I enter rm 1.txt, hit enter, you can see the 1.txt file got deleted, right? And in the UI itself, you also get options to delete it. I was not able to find it in the right click, but if you tinkle around in the UI, you will find the delete option as well for this particular operation. So this is the difference between the UI and the terminal. So whatever operations I told you up till now, all that would have been done using the user interface as well. But why did I not show you that using the user interface? Is because most of the Linux operating systems that you are going to use in your job, they are not going to involve a user interface. But just to give you more clarity of whatever we did on the terminal, does it show on the UI? Yes, it does. Okay. Now let me show you how a Linux operating system basically will look like when you start to work for a a company, or when you basically start it in your job, right? So basically the way it works is, I will just show you. This is a Linux server which is running on the cloud. Now, if you have to connect to this, you will basically have to make use of a command which is called the SSH command. So, how to log into a remote Linux operating system, or how to log into a remote Linux machine, which is probably running on the cloud or somewhere on the internet? Let's discuss that now. So, the command is SSH, right? So, you use a command called SSH to connect to a machine which is there on a remote system, right? Now, how to connect to it? Let me open the terminal on my machine, and then I will show you how you can connect to it, right? So this is the terminal on my machine, guys, and now let me just see if I can make it a little bigger for you guys. Yes, so this font I have made it a little bigger. So in order to connect to this machine, what I need is I will need the IP address of this machine first. So I will take the IP address of the machine. So this is the IP address of the machine. Let me copy it and let me come back to my terminal. Okay, so the command is SSH, the username at the rate the IP address. This is the syntax for the SSH command. Now the username in our case is CentOS, that the machine that we are trying to connect to, and the IP address is this. So when you enter this, it will ask you for a password in your Linux machine, which is there on the cloud. And then when you enter the password, you will be able to log into your machine. Okay, but usually when you launch any machine on the cloud, it does not ask for a password. It basically asks for a file, right? So as you can see, it says permission denied. Why? Because it basically is expecting a public key. So a public key is basically a file which the cloud provider gives you when you are launching a server. So I have that file on my system. It's in downloads. So I'll just cd into the downloads folder. And now I'm in downloads folder, and now I can enter the same command, SSH CentOS at the rate IP address. But here I will just include the file as well. Now to include the file, the flag is -i space and then the name of the file, which is mac-mumbai. So this is the name of the file, mac-mumbai.pem. And now if I hit enter, you can see that I have entered into the Linux machine which is there on the cloud. And now I can just use this machine as I did my normal Linux machine on the virtual machine, and it will work exactly the same, right? So what I can do is over here as well, if I do an ls, there is nothing inside it, so I'll just create a folder called demo, right? mkdir demo. It creates a folder called demo. If I go inside the demo folder, I can go ahead and create files like 1.txt, right? Again, the same commands, touch 1.txt has been created. Similarly, if I want to delete this, rm1.txt, this will delete the file. If I want to come out of the demo folder, again the same command, cd space dot dot. I have come out of the demo folder. If I do an ls, if I want to delete this, again if I just type in rm demo, it will say it is a directory. So hence I will have to type in rm-r demo, and the directory has been deleted. So although this is an operating system on the cloud, it works exactly the same. But in this case, as you can notice, there is no user interface. It just has the terminal that I can use. Now, if I want to exit from this particular machine, which is there on the cloud, this is a remote machine, I can just type in exit, and I have logged out of the machine, and you can see connection to this IP address has been closed, and I'm back to my local machine, right? Interesting, right? So this is how you can work with the Linux machine which is there on the cloud. Okay, now moving forward, let's understand how to run a command as an admin in Linux. Let's understand that. So coming back to my CentOS machine, which has the user interface, let me just close this particular UI. All right. So whenever you want to work with a root machine, or whenever you want to work on the admin account in Linux, what you basically do is this admin account in Linux is called root. This is the first difference. right? So an administrator in Windows is called root in Linux. And whenever you want to change to your administrator user, for example, when you do that in Windows, you have to enter the administrator user on the login screen and then enter the password and then you enter the administrator desktop. Similarly, over here in Linux, all you need to do is type in sudo su. Su basically means super user, which is the root account in this particular machine. It'll ask me for the password. I enter that, and now you can see the dollar prompt changed to a bang prompt, right? So this dollar prompt means that you are on a normal user. This hash prompt basically means that you are a root user now. There can only be one root user on a Linux machine, right? So this hash basically means you are now executing commands as root, and this should only be done when necessary. It should not be used every time, right? And when you will be working in your job, when you will be working on Linux, probably the access to the hash terminal is not given to you. So this privilege is not given to everyone. It is only given to administrators or people who probably will make big changes on the system, because when you are a root user, you can do anything on this system. But as in Windows, you can give specific permissions to a user. You can do that in Linux machines as well. So how to switch to the root user, I've told you. The command is sudo su. Let's exit this. But you might have noticed in Windows, when you basically want to do something which requires admin privileges, it gives you a prompt, right? This will require admin privileges. Do you have that? And if you do, click on yes. So similarly, if I from my normal account, that is the dollar prompt. So if you want to exit from your root account, just type in exit, you will exit it. If from your normal dollar account, if you want to execute a command which should have admin privileges, uh, just in front of that command use sudo, right? So when you use sudo in front of that command, it basically runs that command with admin privileges, right? So this is again something which might be useful to you. So if something is giving you a permission error, just try running it with sudo, and then that permission error will disappear, right? And that basically happens because sometimes normal users do not have admin privileges, and when they don't, they are not able to run that particular command, and for that you basically will have to use sudo. Okay. Moving forward, now let's understand some good to know commands in Linux, right? So I've told you all the basic commands which are there in Linux, but what are some good to know commands which probably will help you when you are working in Linux? Let's go ahead and understand that. All right. So guys, these are a set of commands that I'm going to show you guys now very quickly, and these do the following things which are mentioned in the task column. So first of all, if you want to know which directory you are in, the command is pwd. P means present, W means working, D means directory. So to understand the present working directory in Linux that you are in right now, the command is pwd. So coming back, so let's say I'm in the demo folder and now I want to know the exact path to the demo folder. I will just enter pwd and you can see this is the exact path that I'm in the folder right now, right? Slash home slash CentOS slash demo. So that's what the pwd command does. If you want to understand the current username, what is the username that you are basically logged in with, the command is who am I. If you enter that, my username is CentOS, right? Similarly, if I want to know the date and the current time in Linux, the command is date. I'll just enter that. You can see this is the date and this is the time, and this is the zone on which the time is basically working on, which is Eastern Standard Time, and the year is 2020. Next, if I want to know the history of commands that I've run, if I want to know all the commands that have been executed on this terminal, just type in history, and this will give me all the commands that I have run till date. Okay, so all these commands are there. Just let me clear it up. And now let's say you want to understand, you want to copy a file. This I've already told you, the command is cp. It is used to copy a file. If you want to delete a file, the command is rm. If you want to clear the commands on the terminal, the command is clear, and you must have noticed I've used it quite often. If you want to go through the manual for a certain command, right? For example, I can just switch to the terminal. If I type in man, it is now asking you what manual page do you want. So just type in man cp, and it will show you the whole syntax for the cp command, right? So if you want to understand the syntax for a certain command, just type in man space the command that you want to know about, and it will open the directory. If you want to quit the directory, just type in q, and your manual or your manual directory will basically be quit after you have read the commands, right? So this is again a very useful command, man, which basically opens the manual. So in front of the man command, you will have to mention the command that you want to know about. Okay. Moving forward, if you want to know exit the terminal, just type in exit. It will exit the terminal. For example, in this case, if I type in exit, the terminal have been closed, right? If you want to open it again, it will open like this. If you are doing this on a remote machine, if you type in exit, the connection to that machine will basically close. Okay. So let me make it a little bigger for you guys. Coming back, the next set of commands that you should know is who. So if you type in who, it will show all the logged in users on the particular machine, right? So if I type in who, you can see that CentOS is logged in. Then this is basically the machine is turned on. So this is the machine user, TTY, right? If I basically type in sudo su, and then if I type in who am I, or just if I type in who, it will show CentOS is logged in, TTY is logged in, but you will notice it does not show root. So if you are wanting to know whether root has logged in or not, you will not get to know about it. You can only see the other users which have logged in onto this system. Okay, exiting the root user by typing in exit and just clearing the screen now with the command clear. So we now saw the who command. If you want a shorter version of the who command, the command is w, but this will also show you all the processes which are running on the system, right? So if I go to the terminal, if I type in w, hit enter, it has showed the CentOS user is running on the machine TTY2, and it is basically running these particular processes. Okay, so how much CPU it is taking, what time did the person log in, all these things are visible over here. Great. Coming back, if you want to create a directory, the command is mkdir. If you want to show the content of a particular text file, right, any file which has some text inside it or content inside it, the command to see that text would be cat. Okay, so for example, if I go ahead and I okay, let me first open the file manager, right? So let's say I want to go ahead and I want to see the content of hello.txt. So how can I see that? So I'll type in cat hello.txt, and you can see it says hello world, right? If I double click on hello.txt, it'll open a notepad and it says hello world itself. If I change the content over here, hello world 123, save it, close it, close this as well, and if I again do a cat on hello.txt, you can see it says hello world 123. Now might have a question in your mind that what happens if I don't have a user interface? In that case, I will not get the notepad, right? So terminal has its own notepad. It's basically called vi. So you can do vi hello.txt, and it will open its own notepad. Now, in order to work with this notepad, there are a little commands that you have to know. For example, if I enter any text right now, it will not enter anything. I can just move with the arrows. If I want to insert anything over here, I have to type in I, and just notice this part of the screen, right? If I enter I, it now is in insert mode, right? So now I can go ahead and I can enter any text. Let's say hello world 123 to Intellipaat. Okay, I entered this. Now to come out of the insert mode, just notice this part of the screen again. I have to type in escape. I'm out of this mode. And now when I want to quit, I will have to type in colon. Colon basically means that I'm entering some command on the notepad of the terminal right now. and I want to write whatever I basically put in this notepad. And for writing it, I will have to type in W, and then I want to quit the terminal, for which the command is Q. So write whatever I have written in the notepad, and then Q means quit, hit enter, and now this particular file has all the content written inside it. If I do a cat on hello.txt, you can see that it now says hello world 123 to Intellipaat. So that's how you can view the content of a particular file. Then if I want to move a certain file, the command is mv. And if I want to give a name for a command and execute using it, the command is alias. If I want to print the text, some text on the terminal, the command is echo. So if I type in echo hello world, it will print hello world. Okay, so this is one command which you can make use of. Then if you want to list any file, which I think I've already showed you guys, if you want to list files and folders in the folder that you are in on the terminal, just type in ls and it will list all the files and folders. So blue basically means it's a folder, green basically means it's a file, red basically means it's a file which is probably in a compressed format or a format which Linux does not understand. Okay, so guys, this is how you can basically get started with Linux, right? And that would be the end of this session. So guys, I hope this session was useful to you. This was a quick refresher on how you can start learning Linux. Now obviously, if you just go through this video, you will not understand everything about the commands. I will suggest you guys to practice along with this video. Just pause at the moment you feel you want to try that command out, and then resume the video. That would be the way to learn from this video. So if you like this video, please hit on the like button. If you want to have more such videos in the future, please let us know, and we will be coming up with more videos in the future as well, right? So with that guys, I would like to take a leave from you all. I thank you all for joining in. Have a great day ahead, and goodbye.